everybody. Welcome to the Talking Disney podcast. This is the show where we review the Disney canon, and it is so much fun. And we let the random number generator tell us which one we are going to talk about next. And today we are finally talking about the Walt Disney animated classic Chicken Little. It's here.
Classic in quotation marks.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm Folklore Rach Wagner. Stanford's here.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes. And we have a special guest with us today to talk about Chicken Little. David Rosen from Piecing It Together podcast is here. And David, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Thanks so much for having me and making me watch this one.
I know. Exactly.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast?
Sure. Well, my podcast, Piecing It Together, is a movie podcast also. We talk about all kinds of new movies and through the lens of what other movies might have inspired it. And so each episode, a guest joins me and we get to not just straight up review the new release, but get to kind of make comparisons to other movies, whether it's in theme or techniques or just various things that we think make good comparison pieces. And you end up with a great list of recommendations at the end of the episode. And you recently joined me for an episode on Black Widow, which was a lot of fun.
Yes. It was really fun. We talked about quite a variety of films, considering it's a Marvel film. We talked about Wes Anderson films. We talked about, it was really good. I'll put a link down in the description if people want to check that out, because I like the concept. It was very fun to do. So. And you said, "Hey, I'd love to come on your show sometime." I'm like, "Ooh, guest for Chicken Little."
What have I done?
What have I done to deserve this?
But I think we'll start out by just talking about what was our first experiences watching this film. And Stanford, was this something that you were looking forward to, or were you dreading from the very beginning?
Well, it was like a train wreck. I just thought, it fascinated and repelled, that time, it was such an interest. I think it helps me to remember what was going on within the Walt Disney Studios at the time. Tail end of Michael Eisner's reign, which wasn't ending well. Pixar was just firing hit after hit after hit. Disney had announced they were going to be closing, their hand-drawn animation, within feature animation and just convert all to this computer animation. So here, this is the first feature, and it just, and given the lackluster films that led up to this too, it was all just bad.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it and I just kind of thought, what was that? I mean, I did see it in the theater probably on, opening weekend, as I want to do. And yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I actually didn't see this movie when it came out. I was just off of being on my mission. And so I was still, I don't know, I just wasn't seeing a ton of movies then. And so I actually didn't see this movie until I did my first
oh my goodness,
canon watch. Yeah, until when I first started my blog. So that would have been in 2014. It was the first time that in my memory at least, that I saw this movie. And it was as bad as I had heard.
Yeah.
Said it was not good. And we're going to talk a lot about it, but it is interesting because it's not from lack of trying. This movie tries to do a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And I always sort of debate about which is worse, something like this that tries a lot, or something like Dinosaur, which is just so boring to me. Like, would I rather watch this or that? It depends on the week.
I pick C. None of the above.
Yeah, this it was rough. There are some good things I like about it, but David, what about you? Had you seen it before?
I had not seen it before, and
Oh
I was
wow, okay.
yeah, I hadn't seen this one, and I don't watch like as many animated movies as you guys do. I tend to watch at least a few of the big ones that come out each year,
Mhm.
and I always kind of wanted to watch this though for the past few years, only because my podcast we have a Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, and I tend to be like one of these theater purists where it's like see everything in the theater, and I
Yeah.
think that streaming is coming to end the world of theaters. And so my friend Tony Strauss in that group is always calling me Chicken Little because I am saying that the world of theaters is dying and streaming is killing it. And so whether that's true or not, it's made me want to watch the movie just so I could kind of have a a little background on that
Yeah.
character.
Right.
So, what did you think? Your first time?
I gotta say, I didn't hate it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's good necessarily, but you were just saying about between this and a movie like Dinosaur, whether it's like trying too hard or just boring. I think I'd rather my animated movies try a little harder than
Yeah.
just be straight up
Hmm.
boring. And so there's some moments in here that I think work a little
Yeah.
bit, but they're far and few between. And just overall, it's just kind of I don't know, just uninspired and just it's just stuff. It's lots of stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
So, what I wanted to read in Creativity Incorporated, this is the book by Ed Catmull, that's very good. He was the
Love that book.
president,
Yeah.
yeah, president of Pixar Animation and Disney Animation, and he talks about what it was like when they first came into Disney Animation. Him and John Lasseter, the environment that was basically during the making of this film. And so that you see the difference between this is why you see the difference between this film and Meet the Robinsons, which Meet the Robinsons has flaws, but the whole spirit and tone of it is so much more hopeful and it just way different than the tone and feel of this film. And I just like he says, excuse me while I read a little bit, but he says, my first day in Burbank, I arrived at Disney Animation before 8 in the morning. I wanted to walk in the halls before anyone else got there, just to get the lay of the land. At Pixar, people's work areas are virtual shrines to individuality, decorated, adorned, and modified in ways that express the quirks and passions of the person who occupies that space. But here, the desks were sterile, cookie cutter, utterly without personality. When I first mentioned this to Chris, he muttered something evasive and kept moving. It was so stark that I brought it up again a few minutes later. And again, he demurred. As we headed up the stairs into the heart of the building, I turned and asked Chris directly why it was the people in such a creative environment didn't personalize any part of their work areas. Was there a policy against it? The place looked, I said, as if no one spent any time there. At this point, Chris stopped and faced me. In anticipation of my arrival, he confided everybody had been told to clean off their desks in order to make a quote good first impression. This was an early indication of how much work lay ahead of us. For me, the alarming thing wasn't the lack of tchotchkes, it was the pervasive sense of alienation and fear that the total lack of individuality represented. There seemed to be undue emphasis put on preventing errors. Even when it came to something as small as office decor, no one dared to put themselves out there or to make a mistake. So that I think is very interesting when you think about this film.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, you can just see that's the environment that this film was made. I mean, it makes sense, right? When you
Hmm.
when you know particularly yeah, everything about it. I
Yeah.
know we'll get into details.
Well, and it's just so interesting that in an environment where people are afraid to make a mistake is when you make the biggest mistake of the history of the studio,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you know, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And uh it it also I feel like not only was this trying to sort of mimic some degree of Pixar, but it's so obviously trying to be a DreamWorks film. I think that is
Definitely.
very clear.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
even the beginning when it starts out with
Oh,
the Lion King / book joke, the book joke is almost identical to the beginning of Shrek.
yeah.
And oh, we're starting with a fairy tale book, oh, we've seen this before, just like the beginning of Shrek.
Yeah.
And
This is an
so
identity crisis just
yeah.
happening before our
So
eyes.
true. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel like this movie is kind of trying to be three different movies in one movie. It's part alien invasion, part like school coming of age bully narrative, part sports movie mixed in the middle. All of a sudden, there's this baseball thing, and it doesn't really do any of them well. But
No.
I I don't know what's I guess my favorite thing about this movie is I do think the design of Chicken Little is pretty cute. I like just his character. Now, the other characters I'm not a big fan of, but I do think he's a cute little character.
I
I
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chicken Little looks pretty cute, and I also like the little three-eyed alien guy once we
Oh
get
yeah,
towards
yeah.
the end. Yeah, he's cute too.
He's cute.
And I think I don't know why I kind of like fish out of water,
Yeah.
just because it's just kind of
Yeah.
random,
Yeah.
but kind of funny. I think, and I think that they, run of the litter. I think has some funny. I think it was interesting the experiments with CGI they were using on him to try to make him almost move like a 2D
Mhm.
animated character are kind of interesting too, with the stretch and squash. But yeah, I'm with you.
Mhm.
And I think some of the production design, I mean, like is clever. Like I think like Chicken Little's dad, I love his little egg car and some of the kind of egg
Mm.
things in their house are kind of clever. And
Yeah.
there's some clever elements, but then yeah, it just feels like it wants to be DreamWorks.
What do you think of the music? Because that also feels very DreamWorksy to me. Is the music? I mean, some like Shrek movies do is have a lot of like a poppy score, and I can't think of. There's no other Disney animated film that uses pop music in the way that this one does. I mean, the closest I guess would be Lilo and Shrek. I mean, Lilo and Stitch.
But that
That
would be a movie. Run
with just
away.
with just Elvis songs, which is
Yeah,
one.
one artist.
Yeah, whereas this you have REM, you have a Spice Girls moment, you have Bare Naked Ladies, the Cheetah Girls, Joss
Yeah.
Stone, Diana Ross, uh, and that's very unique. Uh, I don't know, David? What do you think about that? What do you think of the music?
Yeah, I think that is it's worked so well for some of these other studios, like especially DreamWorks.
Hmm.
And so I get the idea, I get the reason why they went in that direction, and I don't think it's a bad collection of songs either. Of course, REM
Hmm.
having that in a movie like this is just kind of perfect, and it's definitely not a bad collection of songs. It's just again we're talking a Disney movie. This isn't the thing that you associate with Disney movies,
Hmm.
and so it's a weird choice for their films. It's just
Yeah.
it makes sense why they were trying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel bad for Mark Dindal because
Yeah, I do too.
he made Cats Don't Dance, which I love and adore, and then he made Emperor's New Groove, which is hilarious and we really enjoy, and then this, and he I don't know, has he made anything since? I
I
mean,
don't think so. I
that
feel like
was
it kind of ended his directorial career. At least I wonder. Yeah.
which is not fair.
No, it's not fair.
I did read though that he's attached to make a Funko movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which would be his first thing since this, I believe.
Oh
But
yeah, you're
Good for
right.
him.
yeah, so I mean,
I
I don't know if there's any movement on that. It was announced like 2 years ago, but I mean, I imagine these movies do take a long time to make, so hopefully, that's actually a thing that's getting off the ground.
Yeah, he was gonna make the DreamWorks Me and My Shadow, but that got canned,
That got
unfortunately.
canned. Yeah, that
But
one
I
sounded
don't.
really promising.
Yeah, it's just a bummer because I think he's a creative person, and I don't think anybody could really save this project, and I don't think that he should be he should be blacklisted for it.
Yeah, I agree. In studying up for the our recording, I was reminded that the story went through some different iterations, and initially, Chicken Little was going to be female,
Yeah,
and and uh, and was really just like a very paranoid character.
yeah.
Which is kind of classic Chicken Little, as I remember as a kid, from the storybook. But then, and then Chicken Little goes off to summer camp, and it turns out that there's like the person running the summer camp really does have some nefarious stuff going on, that she discovers, and that to me sounded like that probably could have been a lot more interesting story. But Michael Eisner wanted Chicken Little to be a boy because he felt like boys got what I think the quote was something to the effect of boys get bullied more, if they're smaller.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
yeah, I read that where they
did
were
you read
saying,
that too?
yeah, they were saying that men get bullied if they're short.
And
That
then
that women want men to be tall.
I feel like there might have been a personal connection there in his decision.
exactly. And then uh and then going from some of that again to me just sounded like it potentially could be more interesting to uh space aliens, like
Mhm.
what in the world.
Well, and like I said, even if you were gonna do space aliens, like Lilo and Stitch works quite well, it's 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 such a fragmented film because, like I said, one
Yeah, there's
moment
just
it's a sports movie, and one
there's
minute
those
it's
three movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
and uh, the the original. So this is the second time that Walt Disney Studios has adapted Chicken Little. The first time was in the 40s with a short. And have you seen that short, Stanford?
I might have seen that short because I've got a DVD with those because I believe it was made during World War II.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen many of those. I probably have. I just don't remember, and I didn't try
Mm-hmm.
to find it,
Yeah.
before our recording.
Me either. Um, I remember. I feel like I remember seeing it. And it was cute,
Yeah.
but it's probably one of those stories that's better as a short than as as a
Hmm.
feature. There's maybe not enough meat on the bones there.
Yeah.
But I have to say, in this opening sequence, at least, they sure throw out a lot of jokes. There are so many.
Oh, they're
They're hoping
nonstop.
something sticks, but they've got the Lion King joke. They have the book joke. They have the dogs eating out of the dog bowls at the restaurant. They have the bunny with the like huge
That's
string
got like
of
30,
children.
30.
Yeah, then the water tower falls over and it's rolling, rolling, rolling. It goes into the movie theater, and we get a Raiders of the Lost Ark joke in live action,
Yeah.
Mm.
which was so weird. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, in
Doesn't make
Chicken
any
Little World,
sense.
they're watching
You're
Raiders
watching
of the
live
Lost
action. Why?
Ark.
It's the only thing in the whole movie that's live action. Why? Are we supposed to believe in that the world of this movie that live action exists, that humans exist? Like, what? It makes no sense.
I feel
Yeah.
like we are supposed to think that,
Yeah.
and because there is a very weird meta, like Hollywood kind of humor to this movie, and
Yes.
Yeah.
none of it, they never slow down enough to explore any of that. That's where there could have been some good jokes, and maybe there's one or two, but they just never stop to really
Yeah.
explore any of that. But that is kind of, I feel like, the direction that maybe was the initial idea. Like, let's have a whole lot of Hollywood and like movie history
Mhm.
jokes in there. But then they had to go in the space aliens and everything direction
Yeah.
instead. And
'Cause
yeah.
they're gonna make a Crazy Little Chicken, the movie.
Right. They're like instantly a movie was announced with a full on billboard.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the thing that doesn't make any sense in this movie is that, among many things, is why in on earth does the town care what Chicken Little says? It's a little child. Like, if a little child came up to you and was like saying something crazy, you'd just be like, "Go to your mom," like, whatever, you're being crazy. Like, you would never be like, "Wow, we got to take this so seriously." Like, nobody ever would. So why did they take Chicken Little so seriously? It makes no sense. It's
Yeah.
just a child ranting and raving. They would just be
Ringing a
like,
bell, and
yeah,
just the sound of the bell, like, sends everybody into
yeah,
hysterics. Yeah.
I wonder if this is one of those movies where, they had, like, 5 scripts laying around, and they just kinda
yeah,
mashed
Oh,
them all
yeah.
together into, "This is what we got." Because, yeah, that
Right.
that doesn't make sense that that would be, like, the direction for this character. It's just like,
yeah.
what why, you know? So it's
Why do
like
people
maybe they
care?
had, like, a short or something written, and they were like, "Why don't we just use that?" You know? And
Yeah.
it didn't really fit, but why not?
If he were the mayor or somebody with some stature or something like that, and then ringing the bell, like I could understand why they would care and maybe get upset. But if it's just a child, like who cares about that? And and then his father, Buck Cluck, is just the worst in this movie. He's so embarrassed by his son. He is, I don't know. I just think he is just very tough to deal with as a
Mhm.
character. He
Yeah, I don't
wants his
like
son
Buck
to.
Cluck either. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the big problems I have. I mean, well, hello, one of the many, but the
Yeah,
his characters are in such a. I know that a big plot point is the two of them coming together, right? Chicken Little and his dad trying
yeah,
to reconcile, and then the um he's a widower, and so there's that going on, that he doesn't know really, it was his wife was the one who really knew how to deal with the kid, and he doesn't know how to deal with it, so he doesn't. And then, Abby's forcing him to have closure, all that stuff going on. It's like, what? But
yeah.
what are we talking about?
He's just so mean. Like,
But as you say, he's really a mean character.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone is either mean or sarcastic.
yes.
There's nothing else. There's no other level.
No
It's
other,
mean or sarcastic.
yeah.
But yeah, then they do throw in a lot of jokes. They have the fishing bowl car, which is kind of funny, a little
Yeah.
bit funny. And they have the goat lawnmower. And
Yes.
and just if you pay attention to the background, there really are just jokes everywhere,
Tons
trying to
of
make you
visual
laugh.
gags all over the
Yeah,
place. Yeah.
yeah. And then they have the names of the characters, which are pretty like puntastic, I
Right,
guess.
and kind of as I recall from the book, or a book, and I think
Hmm.
it's anyway,
Yeah, they have
but
ugly duckling, run of the litter, fish out of water, and they get a lot of jokes out of the fact that runt of the litter is fat, and he's the runt of the litter.
and then there's Foxy Loxy and Goosey
Hmm.
Lucy, and yeah.
Yeah. And so then we start off with sort of the school drama part of the movie with this whole scene with
uh,
dodgeball, which is a
well,
nightmare in any class
yeah,
in
I think
any
it's a
school.
nightmare. I mean, for we all could relate. Just one quick thing, Rach, too, in that opening or semi-opening scene
Hmm.
where the Bare Naked Lady song is playing.
Yeah.
So after the debacle of him ringing the bell, then he's trying to get to school, and just like bad thing after bad thing keeps happening to him. It's kind of funny, but also just like, oh please, I don't know.
Yeah.
I found it more frustrating rather than endearing,
Yeah.
for him, how he gets stuck in the gum, and then he puts on the paper. I guess, well, no, first he launches himself into the school and puts on the paper pants. I mean, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's a lot.
it's
I
a
mean, and
lot.
I love the Bare Naked Ladies. I went to see them live in like 2007, I think it was, or 2008. And they were when they were all together as they have the good singer and the fast talking singer. They were together at the time.
Uh-huh.
And and they were incredible and incredible artists. So I it was fun to hear this song in the movie. And they put on a, if you ever get a chance to see even the new version, you should take of it. It's because they're really great. But uh, but yeah, and so this dodgeball scene. Uh, and David, what do you think of this kind of part with the dodgeball?
Yeah, like you guys are saying, I mean, who can't relate to, dodgeball being a scary situation at that, at
Yeah.
that age. But yeah, I mean, it just continues at that breakneck, pace. But there is one thing though, I think it was during the dodgeball scene, unless I'm misremembering. I talked earlier about being a theater purist. I remember there's a scene where Ugly Duckling says to Chicken Little, I heard about the movie, maybe it'll just go straight to video.
Yeah.
Says that like a bad
Yeah.
thing, which now that's a good thing because now everybody loves straight to streaming movies. And so yeah, I got a kick out of
That's
that
true.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
Especially for Disney, this direct to DVDs
Right?
were
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a money train for them.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was a good
so
one.
Chicken Little he pulls the fire alarm and the principal is very upset. And then we find out that Buck Cluck was the school baseball star. And so Chicken Little decides that he's going to try out for the baseball team. And Buck says, please try not to get your hopes too high with the baseball team. One thing I do like about this movie is that everything is to scale. So like Chicken Little is like really little. Like it's
Hmm.
tiny
yeah.
compared to the
Yeah.
other
He's
animals.
little.
So um, and so
But
he decides, then we get this whole training
training
montage.
montage.
The shake a tail feather. And then also we get the 5 for Fighting song with All I Know when he's feeling sad about his dad, not believing in him. And So, those are kind of fun. And uh, I would think that Chicken Little, if he is doing all this training, he would understand which way to run in the baseball game. Like, if you're putting all this time in, you think you'd at least know which way you're supposed to run.
Yeah, that's a classic dorky kid move.
Yeah.
It's such an easy joke, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. It's so easy.
Yeah. But nevertheless, he still manages to make a run.
It's a home run.
Yeah. And he slides into the
The
base.
game-winning home run.
Yeah. Slides into the base. First he's called out, and then they remove the dirt, and he's declared safe. So, and they say, I guess that puts the whole sky is falling incident behind us. And I guess so the aliens are supposed to have come and then left and then come back.
That's how I interpret it, but who knows?
I guess so.
I guess so. Um, and maybe the most cringy scene of the whole thing is the wannabe karaoke session between Ugly Duckling. I mean, if you never thought that you'd get that in a Disney movie, is the Spice Girls karaoke session. I'd forgotten about that part.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's cringy, and I remember seeing that the first time, and I think I laughed because that's also just kind of like a reflex of mine too. But it was like one of those. Did that just really happen? You
Yeah.
know, like was that really? Did they really
I
put
mean, it
that in there?
feels so out of date because what were the Spice Girls? That was like 98, wasn't it?
Oh, I
I
don't know.
Yeah, I would say so. I think
Yeah.
Yeah, that
98.
was when I was in high school. So the let's see, when did that song come out? 1996. So by
Okay.
the time this movie came out, 2005, I feel like that's so like passe. It's not even like a wasn't even like a current hip song.
That brings up a really interesting point. I mean, you guys revisit more animated movies than I do. Usually, like I said, I see some of the bigger ones of the year, and then I kind of move on. I don't tend to revisit them. A lot of these movies are so built around popular songs of the moment. I mean, I wonder how that ages for some of these like current pop songs. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw the trailer for that Sing movie the other day, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't see the first one, but like just are people going to remember these like a Billie Eilish song 20 years from now to revisit that movie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
It's hard to say.
No, I think that that's definitely true. I I don't know what was sort of popular in like 2004, 2005, because I was gone. I was on my mission during that time, so I was kind of out of the loop. But it does seem like something more modern would have done better.
They could have
But
sang
yeah,
like
you're
White
right. It just
Stripes or something.
yeah, it immediately dates the picture to use current pop culture.
Yeah.
It just does, as opposed to like the Disney Renaissance, which will last forever because they are just timeless, based on fairy tales, things like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're originals, so
Mm-hmm.
it ties itself to the film.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's probably the worst part of the and
Oh,
so
I think it gets worse,
it
Rach.
gets
But well,
worse. No. Um, but we also find out that Ugly Duckling has a crush on Chicken Little. So we got some
yeah.
interspecies romance going on here. Uh, so the aliens return, and they chase down the aliens.
So
Eh,
literally, that same the piece, falls off of the spaceship, uh,
mhm,
right, and falls into Chicken Little's room,
yep.
which of course sends him into hysterics again. But
Yeah.
we learn more about what's going on. That it's like some kind of LED panel or something that can
Mhm.
replicate where it land or what's
Which I
what's
think
sitting on.
is kind of a clever idea,
Yeah,
and
and the animation is
uh,
pretty cool. You know.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and the little alien, as you said, David, is pretty cute.
Mhm.
Is a
Yeah, I
clever
like that.
design.
I like that thing. Another thing, speaking of the spaceships themselves, this coming out in 2004, speaking of dated music, dated references, was this all kind of a play on Independence Day?
Yeah, I could see that, the design of the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that you wonder if there was some if they were influenced by that. It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
thinking.
Hmm.
So we get some more jokes as things go crazy again. There's these spider aliens are chasing them. There's a joke with Runt of the Litter eating the corn, and he says, "Sorry, I'm a nervous eater." And I'm like, "Wow, he's eating like straight corn, not even." I mean, I guess he's a pig. He doesn't even need any to be cooked or anything, just right off the cob. Uh, and then he's ringing the bell again to warn everyone, and then when they get there, the ship is hidden, so they don't see it. And you get the little lemmings, throwing themselves from the park bench. That was, I thought, a little bit funny.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. um, and I also laughed a little bit when he kept checking his hate mail box on his email.
Yeah, that was
That was
funny.
kind of
You have
funny.
hate mail. Yeah.
Your hate mail box is full. I think any film critic can relate to that.
Sure.
Uh, so then the aliens come back, and they see the aliens, and that's when we get at the end of the world as we know it montage.
Yeah, because initially there's another moment where you know that we don't that Chicken Little he's all excited. He's got his dad's confidence in him, and now his dad's like, "I don't believe you. This guy isn't following you." And
Yeah,
then all havoc wreaks loose. Or all it's everything goes crazy with them
Yeah.
yeah,
with the
and
aliens.
then they have this kind of reunification moment between Buck and Chicken Little, and he says, "I'm going to need a lot of work, but I need you to know I love you no matter what." And he says, "I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like that was something you had to earn." And I feel like this reunification is not earned. Like
Right.
it
Speaking of,
yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. It's nice. I like all the sentiment. It's lovely, but he's just been such a miserable character that it doesn't really feel, doesn't have the emotion that it should have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then he said, "Come on, Dad, we got to go save the world." But before that, we get a kiss between Ugly Duckling and Chicken Little. So there we go. I remember going to Disneyland in, I think, 2006, and they actually had Ugly Duckling as a character
Oh
there.
yeah, I think that was like a walk around
Yeah.
character. You know, there was a walk around Chicken Little and a walk around Ugly Duckling.
And
Yeah,
I hadn't seen the movie, and I was just like, "What is this
like
bizarre looking thing?" I was very like, "What?"
That's
yeah.
funny.
And there, so I doubt that that's probably a rare character meet and greet these days, I think.
I'm curious though, like obviously as adults watching it, it's one thing. Did kids like this movie?
Well, according to my friend Jennifer Chandler, she says her kids like it. So I don't
Okay.
know. I think it's kind of like that old ad for Carl's Jr. where it says shows the kid eating the gum from the bottom of this of the chair or whatever, and it says kids love chicken nuggets, but they kids love everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Think it's kind of like that like there is a certain degree that if you put kids in front of almost any Disney film, they're going to be moderately entertained. But is it something that they're going to be talking about for weeks on end, dressing as the characters? Like you set kids in front of Moana, and they're going to be talking about it for weeks. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to inspire them. They're going to tell stories. They're going to want the toys, things like that. That's not going to be the case with this.
I think that's a really good question though, because you know, and I don't have an answer. It's interesting to hear about the Chandler kids, and I'm glad. You know, you just wonder if there's so much going on that maybe it is entertaining to watch for kids,
Mm-hmm.
but you wonder again if it's more just kind of sensory overload, or if they're
Right.
really if they really are, you know, enjoying it and appreciate the story and
Yeah, because some of the jokes
whatnot.
I don't even like. Our kids don't. Do kids know Raiders of the Lost Ark? Do they know? Do they get that? Like some of the jokes, I don't even think they'll get. Do they
Yeah,
understand
Sure.
Spice Girls? Like what?
yeah,
I don't even think
and
they'll get.
right. Well, and how like with Run of the Litter too, there's all those jokes like his mother is going to punish him by taking away his Barbra Streisand records.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, I don't think they're going to get that joke.
That was a
either.
very weird one. Yeah.
So then we have they've got to give the alien back to his parents, and then Buck and Chicken Little get zapped, and the giant alien says, "Release the child."
So, you know, one thing about it, and I'm starting to interrupt you, Rachel. One thing that seems so weird about that though too is so the spaceship has like landed on the ground before. Why can't they like do this transaction on the ground? Why does Chicken Little have to climb to the top of this, you know, of City Hall
Yeah.
or whatever to hand off the alien kid? I don't know that part. I know it's all of course for you know the dramatic effect, and Chicken Little had to come together with his dad and you know and do it together, but still I was just rolling my eyes like didn't you know anyway.
Yeah. Well, and so then they are talking to Buck, and he says that you're the ones who left an alien behind. It's talk about bad parenting, and I should know. And I feel like that's not the way I would go. Be insulting the aliens.
That they're bad parents.
Yeah. Also, they probably don't understand English, but I guess we have to give it somehow they do. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But then can we talk about the handoff scene though?
Yeah.
How weird that is.
Melvin the alien.
Well, it kind of goes Wizard of Oz-ish in a
Yeah.
way.
It's
And
very weird.
and I think again they were trying to go for a Looney Tunes vibe, which Mark Dindal's really good at, you know, because
Yeah.
I think you know he aces it in The Emperor's New Groove, but it just
Mhm.
you know they didn't really find their groove. I didn't think with this and that. See, I don't know. I had totally forgotten that
Yeah.
scene.
Right.
And well, which is like with the big three eyes that are just, again, giant, and they're in that black room, and then all those weapons being pointed at them and stuff. That again is also seems kind of very Looney Tune-ish, which I'm all for, but I don't know. To me, it didn't work. What did you both think of that scene?
Yeah, it
I,
was
I I
so
think
weird.
Looney Tunes is a good comparison there. Especially with just how fast paced it all is and everything.
Yeah. It was strange. Like, why did they need to have Melvin the alien with the big voice? I mean, I guess it was maybe to show that like everybody's a screw up, even aliens. I don't know. I think
That's a
that
good
that's
lesson.
I think that that's the case.
Yeah.
So then we get 1 year later, and it's the new movie has been made, Chicken Little: The True Story, the movie. And this fake movie is really long. It's like 10 minutes.
Oh, it goes on and on.
Yeah. And they
And it's
also have 10 minutes of credits with Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which is interesting.
uh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're so right about that. I'd actually forgotten about that, but I did like notice it while I was watching. I was like, this has to end at some point. This
It was so
movie within
long.
the movie.
Well, and it was kind of funny for a minute. It reminded me of, how in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, how how Pee Wee's. Do you recall that film? How I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's like James Brolin playing Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That worked. It was funny, and there was like more interaction. But this just kept going on, and I think it was funny that they cast Adam West. But I don't know, as the voice of Chicken Little, you know,
Mhm.
Chicken Little Lightyear is kind of
Yeah.
what he reminded me of.
I mean, it's
But
like a full animated short. It's really long.
yeah,
Like, what? I was surprised. I'd forgotten that. But yeah, that's Chicken Little. That's the movie. It is, like I said, I feel like they throw a lot at the screen. They're really trying, but yeah, it just did not work. And we had a ton of comments on Twitter. I can't read them all because there's so many, but I will read some of them. Our friend Matthew Dave Klein, he says, I'd rather spend more time with characters of Camelot, Dinosaur, Madagascar, or even Brother Bear than those of Home on the Range or Chicken Little. Sure, none of those four were exactly animation's best works, but at least they had more good quality things in them than these two. So I don't know. But Mooner Abdrabo says worst Walt Disney animated film, a clear result of the deep crisis the studio was having at the time.
Mm.
Big Red Panda says the 2000s were certainly an interesting time for Disney animation for sure. They certainly did a lot of experimenting with their films with really varying results. Uh, Alexander Robinson says, worst Disney animated movie ever. I haven't watched Home on the Range, but I'm not looking forward to revisiting it later this year. Our sympathies are with you. He's Alexander, who's been on our show, he's doing a chronological uh review of the canon, and that post Renaissance is rough. So
yeah, that's rough.
we're we'll be rooting for you there, Alexander.
Yeah.
Geek Salad says needlessly cruel, hard to look at animation, and doesn't earn the second look that other aughts Disney output does, like Meet the Robinsons. Um, Cynthia Simmons, my family loves this movie. It's been years since I've watched it, but I would give it a 4 out of 5 clucks for entertainment. So not all negative. Jacob Martin says Disney animation at their lowest of lows, terrible Disney movie in any way, shape, or form, with ugly animation, unlikable characters, mean spirited humor, and a terrible message. And then lastly, Vogt says it's one of the worst anime movies of all time, ugly, mean spirited, and unfunny. So there we go.
Ugh, ugh.
Thank you so much for all of your comments. We always appreciate it on Twitter. And we have our next episode. We only have 3 movies left. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. We are going to be talking about Treasure Planet for our next episode for the random number generator told us. So that's an interesting one. It's going to be fun to talk about. So, David, thank you so much for joining us to
Yeah,
talk about this.
thank
This was
you,
a lot of
David.
fun.
Appreciate so much your insights, and it's great. Sorry that we had to make you watch this movie.
You know what? Every so often for a podcast or something, I have to watch a movie that I would never have otherwise watched, and it's like, at least now I could say I've watched Chicken
Yeah,
Little.
there we
You can check that
go.
one off your list.
That's right.
I
And
just have
hopefully,
this.
hopefully I never have to watch it again. I've watched
That's
it 3
right.
times for 3 different canon rankings, and
Oh,
hopefully
Rachel.
I never have to.
Yeah, you never have to watch it again. I was looking at my personal rankings, and this is really, my rankings are mostly just how much I enjoyed the film. You know, what I mean,
Mhm.
but I have Chicken Little at 56, which
Yeah,
I can't believe it's not quite lower. But at 57, I have Home on the Range,
yeah.
and it's almost like for that, it's almost like. And then there's Dinosaur at 58. So it's like
Yeah.
this kind of three-way.
Wow.
I got
Those
it's
are
kind of
my 3 lowest as well.
three-way tie.
Yeah. Those are
Yeah.
my 3. Last time I did my ranking, I had Home on the Range at the lowest, just because I feel like they didn't even really try that hard with that one. It feels so lazy. This
Ooh,
one, it does feel like they tried
they
harder to me.
tried.
Yeah.
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 The
Yeah.
only thing that tries in Home on the Range is Alan Menken's score. Everything else just feels so bland to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think out of the 3, I probably would rather watch this than those 3, than Dinosaur or
Yeah,
Home on
because
the Range.
Home on the Range
But
just
you're
sends
right.
me into hysterics. I hate it so much.
It's so bad. Can we? Yeah, we just need an option 3, as you said, or
That's
option
right.
4.
Yeah. D. None of the above.
None of the above. So this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking about this. And David, where can people find you and your podcast and everything?
Yeah, they can find Piecing It Together wherever they listen to podcasts, and follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, and our website is piecingpod.com.
Great. And Stanford, where can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
And make sure you're following us at Disney Talking on Twitter. We try to have a lot of fun over there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate that. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, we have the Hallmarkies podcast that I have a lot of fun on as well. And I love for you to check that out. And please, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And we so appreciate all of your comments. We also have our patron group, which is really fun, and we have our merch store. We can get #Animation Junkie shirts, and we sure appreciate that support as well. And thanks so much again, David. We really appreciate it, and we will talk next month about Treasure Planet. Bye, everyone.
Bye.